So now when people say, this is for cash, yeah, they can say it out loud, right? I shouldn't be cynical. That is really probably a minority, although it might include most of the MSMs that, now know that YouTube's their playground. Of course, there's, the advocates, there's the people that have a true interest, there's the people that just want to educate. Everybody's got a right to make money from their channel. Sometimes it's just so exploitative, though. That's just my opinion, but what am I talking about? Well, Cash Gernon. So here's just what I think so far, a little summation. Well, firstly, where is a press release from Dallas PD or, whichever jurisdictional police department is in charge of the Cash Gernon murder? So Cash Gernon being the little boy who is a twin, the little boy stolen from a home he was residing in, and he was found just 2 hours later slain. So he was in the street, the Dallas street. So we haven't had a press release and we haven't had murder charges. Is it because they're doing an autopsy on this little boy and they're finding out exactly the full heinous nature of the crime, of what Darian Brown did? Who's Darian Brown? Darian Brown is, let's throw out all these terms that I'm not qualified to use, but they are so descriptive. Darian Brown is a sociopathic creeper, a disturbed, pathologically ill teenage man, an 18-year-old high school person who has been terrorizing his Dallas neighborhood, and he's someone who has so many complaints against him for threatening the lives of young families, young children. He's a creeper, a peeper, he's violent, okay, and he's been scaring this Dallas neighborhood, and yet, he's not in a psychiatric unit. He hasn't been taken for assessment or held in jail. I mean, I don't know when he turned 18, but he's just out on the streets roaming around so that he can commit this crime. We know that there was some sort of incident that's happened in the home of Monica Sherrod, where she lives with her 4 teenage children. An incident that happened a few days before where she's told Darian, you can't come back. So what has he done? It was something to do with Darian and Cash. Has he molested him? Has he hurt him? Has he threatened him? Has he paid just some weird attention? He's been told not to come back. Now Monica Sherrod, because she doesn't want to be caught for anything, I allege, just in my opinion, she can't go to law enforcement, can she? She's just not that type of person that is living in such a way that if anything heinous happens against a child under her roof, she could report it, unless she, is happy for herself to be held accountable for certain things. So she chose herself, not the child. We'd like to question police as to why nothing was done in all the times Darian Brown was reported. I guess there'll be a time when this is going to be discussed. I think we need to let this unfold, I guess. We need to allow things to unfold and happen. It's all real time here. Just being bombastic and sensationalistic isn't going to move it along, is it? So He's a creep. There's been something that's happened in the house already. Cameron, the eldest son, the 18-year-old boy of Monica, has said, hey, not about revenge or anything, no, nothing about getting us back for anything. So obviously, I think this does relate to the incident. Darren wasn't happy about it because perhaps this household, this motley crew of Monica and her children is maybe, and the children she was essentially holding hostage. If they had a will to express, if they were given the forum to express it, they're being held against their will. It's certainly illegal, I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe someone can enlighten me about that. Here is just a random woman with not even, she's not the stepmother, she's not the girlfriend of the father, she's nothing, she's nobody to these children. She's holding these children illegally in her home. No one knows where they are. So essentially that's kidnap, isn't it? Abduction, isn't it? So it could nearly be trafficking. I mean, she wants to trade in them. She wants to trade Cash and Carter Gernon for the affection, for a relationship with Trevor Gernon. She wasn't going to get it. He doesn't want her. He doesn't rate her, but he's happy to use her. He knows exactly who she is, what she is, and he's dropped his twins off there. Yes, judgy. But they can't put the little boy's welfare above their own selfish needs to, sort of stay just sort of above the law, or, one step ahead of the law, because Trevor's got warrants. Trevor, the father, has got warrants. He had custody of these children. Okay, he did have full custody, so he's responsible for where they are. They were no longer in his care. So that's not the agreement, is it, between him and the state? So, sorry, this is a bit disjointed. So, Darian's a creeper. He's known to Monica Sherrod and her family. There's been an incident where he's been told to stay away. The twins have been abandoned there with Monica and her family. They have nothing to do with her. She's not a stepmommy. No, she's not a girlfriend. She's being used, and she is using. These twins are being dumped and exploited by Trevor and Monica. In my opinion, you could look at it this way. Yes, I can look at it compassionately as well. I know they are both suffering. Monica, I think, just because she just sees holy terror of the law raining down on her, and Trevor's probably very conflicted. Yes, he probably feels like a piece of shit now. Should have thought about that, because he knew what he was doing. Now, it's Darian Brown that has come into the home and has been captured on this baby monitor. You can clearly see it, and one of my subscribers reversed the lighting. You can clearly see Darian in that. So if you're any good at messing around with these recordings like that, just reverse the light. It's no one but Darian, as it is no one but Darian that came back the second time. So Darian has come in to this home. He's broken in easily. He knows where the twins are kept. He's already threatened other families, and now probably the only family that gave him a little break has finally shoved him away as well, because this guy, he's a loner. He's an outcast because he's very odd. He's very dangerous. He's very bizarre. He's in his own world. No one wants him around. He's causing pain, fright, worry. I mean, his mother was probably feeling very scared for her own life, possibly. We don't know. But, he doesn't have a band of merry friends helping him out, or even a frenemy. He's got no one's on this guy's side. They're probably all frightened of him, and he's come and taken Cash on his own, and he's come back at 7:30 in the morning after whatever has transpired, after Cash has been found at 6:45 on that Dallas street near Darian's home. And he's come back in the room and he's stroked Carter's hair and then left the room. And maybe whispered something to him, you're sleeping, you're sleeping. Did he think he could go back and hypnotize the child into thinking it was all a dream last night when Darian came into the room and stole his soulmate, his twin? And it does. I was thinking, well, you can't see that these clothes in the morning are covered in blood, which they would be if he'd just committed a heinous crime, but he could have changed his clothes because he was so near his house. But where are these clothes? Have they been recovered in the neighbourhood? I haven't heard anyone speak on this. Were they dropped in some neighbour's dumpster? How much searching of the neighbourhood have the police done? Has anyone found these bloodied items? Are they in Darian's home? Did he put them in the wash? Did he discard them somewhere under a hedge or in the woods? But, where are these bloodied clothes? Because he was in clean clothes when he came back in the morning to look at Carter and to stroke this boy's head. And I've said before, did he want to see this child's face because it looks like Cash's? To me, I think I don't know if he was just selecting the twin that was closer to the edge of the bed because Cash was sort of lying on that front edge with his head up one end, and then Carter came back into the room at one point, we saw, and got into bed and maybe was lying nearer the rear of the crib. And was it so that, Cash was easier just to pick up and keep asleep? I've seen a child being carried like that in something else, some other crime. It just gave me chills. It reminded me of John Ramsey carrying jonbenet in front of him. I mean, she was stiff with rigor mortis, where he just would have had her around her waist and carried her out in front of his body. It's the way that Darian Brown picked up this child Cash and carried him out to his fate. So we don't know. We don't know what happened between Darian Brown leaving Monica Sherrod's unsafe house at 5 a.m. in the morning. There's an hour and 45 minutes, and we're only talking the distance of about 1 kilometre, 800 metres. You can move this distance and say, 4 or 5 minutes. He's an 18-year-old. Even carrying a child, even if you said 10 minutes, 15 minutes to walk. I mean, I know, I walk often. I know the pace. This is easily done. And even, to go to home and to walk back, even taking off a generous 30 minutes. This is leaving, an hour and 15 minutes even of time with him in the woods and to kill and to discard, I believe he did, he was just as, say, we see Carter just in his little shorts. I believe he was in his little shorts. Mercy for, I don't know. I feel this is sexually motivated. I feel this is if not wholly, at least partially sexually motivated, and just part of just this absolutely unclean mind, this mind that's had a shift, a shift in its functioning and its and in the way and then in the gears it's using in the Anyway, so the kids never should have been. Cash and Carter should never have been in Monica's home. Now, I think that they were in the care, if they weren't with Trevor. There are some other children, I believe, that are with Melinda, the mother, with her mother. And I think Melinda and her mother were trying to get hold of Trevor and get in touch with the twins, but I don't know how far they went as to report Trevor for being AWOL, to report that they couldn't contact their children. I think there needs to be some sort of maybe, is she a seagrass? Maybe a seagrass law where you have to be able to be contacted. There should be some checks in place, a check-in in place where the children are cited by somebody who can then report that into a federal database. And if someone isn't unable to get, if a biological parent isn't able to get hold of their child in these circumstances, it's reported and checks are done, because that gave weeks. There were weeks for these children to be followed up on and found and put where they should have been, in a safe environment with the right people. I'm not saying to go back to mom because she lost custody. She's got her own issues she needs to work through and she's lost custody, but I'm sure, I don't know why they don't seem to be on these missing persons lists. They weren't reported missing. Where are these missing links? Where are these missing actions? Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate, people. Don't think about, am I getting this shithead father in trouble? Or, just follow it through for the sake of the children. No one should be angry. It's just like simple things like, if someone is asking you to repeat how to spell your name or what your phone number is on the phone or in a counter in front of you or something like that, don't get angry. They're just asking simple questions for a very normal reason. And this should trigger nobody to be queried and to, because it's for the sake of the children. Yes, everything can be misused. It can be used to harass. We've seen how legalities and things can be used to harass. Laurie Vallow, case in point, the shit she rained down on her ex-husbands. But, how did these children slip through the cracks? We need to be concerned if people are unaccountable, because terrible things happen and we don't realize it, and then it's too late. Isn't it better to have to bother someone, say for a half-hour phone call, a click on the computer? We've got smartphones now. Send proof of life of these children. Just send proof of life of these children, just like in the West case. Send proof of life of these children. So, these children should not have been at Monica's. She should have got in touch with authorities because she knew the situation. She knew that there had been guardian issues. She knew there's trouble with all sorts of things, but it's her own weak position and her own selfishness that stopped her coming forward. She hasn't put these children ahead, but Monica could have acted in the right manner and said, as much as I love these children, I don't think it was like this at all, but maybe another person might say, oh, I love these little kids, dang, I wish it was all right for them to stay there, but it's not right. And, you know, we need to work out what's going to go forward, and let's do it responsibly and caringly and safely for them. And she should have made a phone call and just let everything, and, you know, and worked to protect the children that way, and put aside her selfishness, her need to have a man, to hope that a man likes her because she's looking after his little kids in this chaotic household with these older teenaged children, and in this environment that isn't safe. It's not a safe neighborhood, and so she's in this position, and then something happens in the home before Cash is killed, directly between Cash and his murderer, and his demon murderer, and she again takes zero action. Did she get in touch with Trevor? Did she try and get in touch with Trevor and tell him? What was the contact there? How often was Trevor calling and checking on these children? Had he been ringing daily to speak to them and say goodnight, read them stories? No, because apparently Monica is, you know, she's mother extraordinaire. She's doing ABCs. She's running school for them and doing ABCs and reading them stories every night. Bullshit. So, you know, but so when Trevor, when he's made his nightly call to the most precious beings, you know, some of the most precious beings and things ever in his life that he'll be gifted to have as a human being, you know, progeny to raise, to, you know, your legacy. Did she mention this incident? You know, did this phone call just never take place? Did she never make it? Did she not know how to contact him? Wow. I mean, it doesn't look good, whichever way you can think of it, you know, because, you know, Trevor was told, hey, look, there was something with this really shady dude that's in the neighborhood. I mean, he needed to come back. Oh, look, you know, hey, it's not like he was in Timbuktu. Where the fuck to was he? Houston, we have a problem. Isn't that just down south in the same state of Texas? I don't really know my geography well, America. I don't, sorry about this, but I think, you know, Texas being that southern state on the Gulf, and you've got Galveston, and you've got Houston, which I think, what I hear, is a little bit easier to live in than Dallas, which is up the top, right? But I mean, even, I don't know the distances. Is it hundreds of miles? Is it hundreds of Ks? I guarantee you there's a train. There's probably a train he could get a ticket on if he needed to go and see if he hasn't got a vehicle. He could hop on public transport and get right down there, or he could do the right thing and maybe call someone about it and say, I need to get my kids out of this environment. Look, I've been a dirtbag. I abandoned my children with someone who's got issues monitoring her drug use. So she's probably not in a good position to look after children who are 100% on reliant on whomever the caregiver is. Yeah, 100% because they're 4 years old. They're not, you know, 18-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old teenagers. But you know, I left them there because I don't want to go to jail. I mean, I don't want to go to jail or go in and just see if I can serve my time and be cleared so I can maybe work towards getting joint custody with these kids. I just thought I'm going to be on the run forever. I'm just going to be on the run forever. I'll just, you know, when Monica gets wind, you know, when she finally twigs that I'm never going to, you know, I don't want her, you know, and she discards them, I'll just take them some other girlfriends if I get, you know, scared that I'm going to be arrested. Their life's okay like that. It's okay. You know, hey, you know, maybe I didn't grow up so great. So why would I want to give them any better? Look, it's got to be scary facing jail time, and especially in America. I mean, holy hell. Yeah. For Monica, for Trevor, for anyone, and especially for drugs. And I don't want to make a joke about that. I truly actually don't. Being a drug user, going into prison for drugs or jail, or going, or having a drug problem and going to jail, it's seriously no joke. It's not here in Australia, and it's certainly not in America. There are drugs in prison. There is no harm reduction in prison. There's no rehabilitation really in prison. You have to do it all yourself, probably, and you have to be strong, and you have to, but I would imagine that 2 little 4-year-old kids would be something that is really a powerful motivator to try to go to clear your debt to society, so to speak, and to come out and begin a new life, and try to be a role model and a figure and a father to these boys. It blows my mind, Trevor's choice. I can see on one hand, was he just in so much fear and pain to do this? It sounds like it was a very rational, conscious choice of some sort, and obviously not rational and not conscientious, but it's a douchebag move. And that's the bottom line anyway, as far as I can see so far, in my opinion. Where the fuck was I? But he drove down to see them, to try and save them from hearing about this demon figure in the neighborhood where he's left his children. So what we need to know, and I hope there's a very deep investigation going on here. And maybe it's not this municipal police department that should be carrying it out, because it seems like they just haven't known what to do with someone like Darian. But it seems to me they don't know the law, because you can threaten someone with violence. You don't need to punch them, you just need to threaten them with it. Or threaten them with an action of violence, of murder, and you can be charged. Why? And he's done this over and again in his own neighborhood. Do they not know the law? Do they not? Are they really thinking that they've got other things that are more important, or are they just so under-resourced? Are they under-educated, under-mentored, under-trained? Are they... What is their focus, if not protecting and serving this community, who is clearly a needy community? It's in a very difficult area. It seems to be a little no man's land, sort of, it's like, when these developments grow, just housing and population-wise, without infrastructure, without community things for wayward teenagers to be involved with, where they can play basketball and learn skills and go to a boxing ring and meet mentors and focus their energies, their testosterone, their concerns, their anxiety, their confusion, their explorations into adulthood, where it can be streamed into something positive, and where truly people can be monitored the funny thing was that the community were trying to monitor, not funny, but the cruel and sad thing was the community was talking to law enforcement and nothing was being done. And I think this deserves an inquiry into, a commission into the practices of, police forces and how they are upholding the law. Yes, they need discretion. They need to be able to use their individual discretion out on the beat. But growing up, man, beat cops, we weren't afraid of them as such, but we would see them, and when you're a little Westie hoon and you're driving around in the boots of cars and things and, you pop out and that, but you see police on the beat and police on horseback all the time. Decades ago, 2 by 2, just walking the streets, and they know the neighborhood, and they're going to come around. They're in the city, they're in the towns, they're in the suburbs, and this doesn't happen like this anymore. Do you know what? Near here, though, oh yeah, they'll cruise around a particular area where all the housos are. This is the state welfare housing. Yeah, they cruise around there. They're just looking for this low-hanging fruit. I mean, sure, there's often trouble at particular development and stuff like this, but low-hanging fruit. But they need to protect and serve, and they need to listen, and they need to engage, and they need to be curious, and they need to do their damned job, and they need to have strength in themselves to feel like if they think something's wrong, just follow through. Don't get put off by maybe other officers just saying, we don't have time for this dirtbag or whatever's gone on, because somebody has made decisions along the way that's led to Cash's death. So many things along the way led to Cash's death. I think I'm going to run out of time on this sort of single recording. What a rant. I'm so judgmental, but I'm furious. We all should be, because this little boy is the victim of what our society is right now. And don't protect the monikers. You should be pissed off at the monikers. See, perpetrators and people that have responsibility and guilt, stop making excuses for them, okay? This happens all the time, and I'm not saying don't give her some sort of compassion. I mean, she will get help going through the system. Trust me, she'll have someone by her side. She'll get, appointed lawyers, and she'll probably have a counsellor, and, the kids will get support of some sort, possibly, okay, through the hated, useless CPS